Alrighty, let's do it.
All right. See, I'm so bad at staying centered. Okay, so I'm speaking in English now, but
hmm
my channel is supposed to be a Japanese channel. Do you speak Japanese?
I know just enough to function inside of like restaurants and like if I'm
Okay.
walking the streets, but it's not like no, conversationally, absolutely not. I am Akachan level shit. So like no, like I know my place in the world, like
And that place ain't it. All right,
right.
cool. Let me try to stay centered. All right,
hmm
cool. じゃあどうしようかな. Wow, this is awkward. What do I say? What do I do? I have no premise. I'm just winging it. What's up, everybody? It's Kiara. 皆さん、こんにちは、キアラです。本日はスペシャルゲストは一応準備してあるんですけど、そのスペシャルゲストは、そこまで日本語うまく喋れないから、今回は、英語の質問をする予定です。で、英語でその話してから、もし聞きたいんだったら、その CC ボタンを押して、字幕を見えるようにしてください。What's up, everybody? Normally, I do my broadcast in Japanese, but today we're going to be with a special guest and we'll be using English just so we can get the best content possible. And I'll be adding Japanese subtitles to the bottom. So for you Japanese learners who are trying to work on your kanji reading, that could be a kind of cool function. So if you want to do that while you watch, turn on the CC button and turn on the subtitles. So without further ado, I'd like to invite up Shola Aurora.
Hey, what's going
What's
on,
up?
folks? Hey, how's it going?
Welcome. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been, but this feels good, sometimes I always feel like if you can kind of be this casual and kind of warm, even if you haven't seen a person in so long, then it
Yeah.
just works. So yeah, I'm down with that. It's good to be here. It feels good.
Yay! So today's topic is about Black niche creators, Black niche creatives, kind of knowing your audience, knowing what kind of genre you want to be a part of, and just really running with that. And the problems that African American people, Black people kind of face once they're put in a niche. So very briefly, or not briefly, if you've got, because I got time, I got number time. If
Sure,
you
I
got
got
time.
plenty. I've already like arranged this. The beauty of the room that I have at my apartment is it's the basement room, so I'm just locked away. I've got kind of everything I need, the home studio
Nice.
and stuff. So I'm solid, yo. You got me for however
All right.
long.
Well, then, in that case, tell us about yourself. What would you describe your niche as?
Huh. So, once again, my name is Shola Aurora. This is going to be one of those few times you'll probably see me on camera without a makeup on. But you know what? That quarantine life, the struggle is real. And I just feel like letting all this, natural black glistenness. And I know that is not going to translate very well.
Wish me luck in the
Right.
translation, guys.
Just show. I am a Nigerian American, first generation, born and raised in New York City.
Mhm.
In terms of the art that I create, I make progressive rock and metal music that's heavily influenced by Japanese rock and metal, particularly visual K bands like Deer and Grey, The Gazette, Lunacy, X Japan. The list goes on. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, that's some that kind of sum totals it, but there's a lot. I just don't want to jump right into this yet. I don't want this to just be me. But
No, it's fine. This is definitely about you. I want it to be, let's say, 80% you, 20% me, or maybe
okay,
70-30.
okay,
I am also not wearing makeup. I just got my natural black glow on going on because
right.
it's a little
So
hot in here.
yeah, out here winning. Like, I have the luxury of having one of those Japanese style ACs right in my thing.
Ah,
I'm
man.
good. I've got an air purifier right here. I've got the AC that can be a heater right over here. Like, I don't have to go anywhere.
You are set. Not only are you getting that cool air, you're getting that pure air, that good air.
All day, just changed the filter last week.
Shit. I got to get on your level. I'm slacking. I just had a fan for the first time. I've never had an AC. I've been in this apartment almost 4 years.
Oh
Literally,
nah, what are you
it's true by me.
doing?
I know. Um, so
Mhm.
cool. Visual K.
Yes.
I dabbled in it. Didn't stick around for very long, but I did dabble in it enough to know the genre. I
Mm.
do know that it can be pretty dark.
Ooh, yeah,
Um, there's a lot of screaming
yeah,
involved, and there's a lot of eyeliner
yes.
involved, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
guyliner.
you're absolutely right. You can never be too prepared. I keep some right on my desk. You know, like there's a little makeup mirror right here too. Like
Oh
I'm
my
ready.
god.
Yo, look,
You are ready.
look.
Dude,
It lights
I've
up.
got mine too. Is that a black thing? Why do we both just
Yo,
like it's right over here?
right? Yeah,
No,
we're
that was
so
not
ready.
scripted. That was just like all natural.
That's great.
That was crazy. The beauty.
Yes.
The
Bravo
beauty of
for
beauty.
us.
That was magical.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I know personally about
Mhm.
Visual K stuff so far. I did have the pleasure of meeting Yoshiki
Oh yeah, I saw, and I
at
was
X
mad
Japan.
jelly. I was wild jelly.
That was really cool. But beside his music and the research I kind of did for that gig, I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that I 100% support what you're doing. Like, I think it is so dope that you've kind of dived into this culture that is already kind of like unusual in Japan. Like, Visual K scene is like really kind of dying down
Yeah.
in recent years. And so I think it's kind of dope that it's finding new life or continued life in
Oh,
the States. That's pretty
abs-
dope.
absolutely. It's I think the smartest thing that a lot of these companies are doing are like, at least Japan's finally kind of getting with the program, is realizing that there's so much more of a market when you extend outwards. And like, let's take bands like the Gazette. For years, people were like begging and dreaming that these guys would tour. I damn near foamed at the mouth when they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do our first world tour." Like I was like screaming. I was like, "They're coming!" And like even something as recent as I forget what company Lunacy is on, right, in terms of their label, but they were like just recently just taking out every Lunacy music video you could find, and I was like, "Yo, what the hell?" However, they've now been re-uploading every Lunacy music video as of like within the week, like on their particular channel, and I'm like, finally, you get it. We want to watch this stuff,
right?
Like monetize it. But yeah, it's super interesting, in terms of like how I got into VK, or it happened kind of by accident in high school, or rather, I feel like it's a relatively interesting story. It kind of swings into how I got into music and how that sort of progression happened. I figured out I could sing, or I had some semblance of talent when I was in kindergarten during my graduation. So we're singing the song that we're taught to sing, and I'm like, ooh, I sound good. I like this. I want to do this. This is great.
Yeah. Shola has always been very self-confident.
Oh, hey, I earned my keep. But so then from there I just thought I was going to be like an R&B singer. I was a huge fan of Usher at the time. First song I ever performed was "You Make Me Wanna" in front of like a whole audience, and I was super nervous. No, that's a lie. Maria Maria was the first song I ever performed in the 4th grade.
Okay.
Carlos Santana. It wasn't until middle school that someone handed me a Linkin Park Meteora CD, and that kind of switched my whole thought process into just rock and roll and stuff like that, especially with the blending of rap and rock, which is really cool that now that is so prevalent right now in just the rock world in general, like all over. Even in, like, if you take Japan, like, you take bands like bands like Garuga Mesher, you take bands like Sim, or like any of these popular bands, the Gazette, even, they use like so much hip hop influence, and it's kind of a standard now, which is really, 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 really freaking cool. So then from there, the way I stumbled into getting into like Visual K and Japanese music was, I was a big gamer. I loved like video games. I didn't necessarily care where they came from. I was a huge fan of games like Phantasy Star Online, and like I didn't know I liked JRPGs until like I realized, oh, this was a genre. I will as a kid, DBZ, all that kind of stuff. So I already had an affinity for Japanese-esque stuff, but I didn't really like, oh, this is like anime. So I'm like, oh, these are just awesome shit. Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus was the game that fucking did it. So I'm sitting there, and the commercial comes on for it, and it's Gak's song Redemption, and I hear it for the first time. Shitsuka ni sonari gairu anata wo sugata wo. Don't get me started, yo.
Beautiful. I love Gact. I still have like at least a good 50 of his songs on my iPod Touch.
Yo, I will do you one better. I have his 9 box, which is a complete collection of his DVDs and live performances and stuff like that, sitting on my desk right now. I have his Jesus single, the CD. I had that imported from Japan. I mean, exported from
Wow.
Japan. I have his acoustic set, the 6th Day, the 7th Night.
Oh my God, I love the 7/9 album. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yo, I'm a Gact stan. Yo, I read his biography translated twice.
Whoa. Okay, I
Yeah.
lose. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say I love Gact because like if your love is out of 10, I should just be like, yeah, I guess he's kind of cool. Like I feel like I just shot down several levels.
Yeah. But more than just the music being really cool was that I
Mhm.
was just like, yo, these artists, they look like they stepped right out of a fucking cartoon. And I'm like, and like I'd already as a kid, like I'd always loved watching like cartoons and stuff, supervillains. Because it made no sense to me why they would lose all the time. These dudes are well read. They've got like massive libraries. They got the freshest threads, and yet somehow they keep getting scrubbed by all of these like dumb, like quirky kids or whatever, just with like the power of friendship. I'm like, nah, man.
The power of friendship.
I'm just like, no, I want to be that villain. I want to sit on top of the mountain and look at the peons and be like, oh, there, I own that. So at that point, I dived into his work. His Diablos tour is hands down my favorite live tour of all time. Like in that, there were costume changes. He came out on horseback. He came out of a floating coffin at one point. It wasn't just a show, it was an experience. And like at the time, I had seen nothing like it. It was able to create this sort of dark, heavy sort of pop rock element, which you don't necessarily, dark and pop kind of blend so much. That's not really a thing, while keeping it captivating and touching. And like, even though there was a language barrier, I still felt that in a way that, only you can only like feel through music, a universal language in itself. And it set a standard for what I wanted to do. From there, the list just went on. I just started adding on more. Of course, Deer Gray stepped into the plate. By then I was full-fledged in my terrible goth phase, as in like I knew I wanted to be goth, and I had shitty taste in clothes. In the US we have these pants called trip pants, and you know them. I'm just saying it for the audience.
Yeah.
And they're these pants that like the back then, this was what, 2000 and probably like 2006, 7. They've got like these parachute pants that have chains all over them, so
Right.
like you can like jingle, like as you're walking around, sounding like the ghost of Christmas past. I did all of that, and so it kind of just added to that. Oh God, you got it. They're just as bad as that. They're worse. Oh, they're so bad.
They're beautiful. Oh, look at that. I can see you in these now.
See, those are cool. Those I like. The baggy ones I can't do, but those I screw with. So, it heavily influenced me. However, as a black male, and you're now stepping into this realm of like not only just the music, but a huge level of androgynism, and whatnot. And makeup and glam and all this stuff, and this is something I'm wanting to emulate. I don't come from a background with anything like that at all. Not from my family side. First generation Nigerians, like men are men. They wear rugged stuff. Even like I went to a predominantly black school in Newark, New Jersey for high school. So none of that was happening.
Right.
So it was a weird sort of space to kind of navigate, to kind of even figure out. But over time, I kind of, started building it. I actually developed a really strong vibrato because I listened to so much Gact. And like, it's something now that's a part of my singing that I just can't turn off.
Nice. It's your personal style now. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is, but it's really tough singing American songs when you're always adding a vibrato, and they're just like, oh, why do you add that other thing? I'm like, I don't know.
We didn't need that there.
Right. But
thanks.
but it's it's become a part of me. It's super internalized. even for my last project for in high school, there's a single that Gak put out called Ghost, where he did a whole dance routine.
Mhm.
At the time, I couldn't dance, so I located the best dancer I knew in the school, and we spent 2 months learning the routine from top to bottom, buying trench coats to match the thing. Myself and like 3 other dancers,
Right.
and we annihilated it for our final performances. We did it for 2 days.
Yes!
Like it was hands down to the day for the people that were there for like 3-4 years. Like, yo, that was the best performance we'd ever seen for this particular thing. And I was just like, yes, yes. Then I don't want to jump too long, but these are really interesting anecdotes, but the story is wild. It's a wild story as to how I got
Please
here.
continue.
So, boom, after high school, again, a lot of terrible fashion phases now that I was no longer at home and I was in college in Jersey. I knew I wanted to do this. Didn't know how to really write songs. I had GarageBand and like Logic Pro, which are recording softwares, which are now staples, in the music industry. So I was just working with like loops and beats, and I kind of started guitar. How I got my first guitar, that's a crazy ass story. I'll keep it short. So my family's Muslim, right? And so our equivalent of going to church on Sunday was going to the mosque on Friday. I can't say I'm religious. It's not really my jam, to each their own. But one night I, had to go with the family, and I kind of just was standing outside. There was a homeless gentleman, well-kept homeless gentleman who was walking around, and he asked the church if he could possibly have something to eat, because they always do like a family meal sort of thing. They're like, sure. They gave him some food, and then he had something in his hand, and in a big plastic garbage bag, and he was like, oh, I just want to donate this, and nobody wanted to take it from him. No one wanted to even consider what it was, and I was like, I'll take it. I opened it up. It's an emerald green Jackson guitar. Wow. Swear, that happened underneath a full moon, and that's how I got my first guitar. And it set a lot of it set like a couple of lessons there. One, sometimes you got to give people the benefit of the doubt and don't assume just based on appearance. Similar to the way Black people just want to be treated like throughout the world.
Yep.
And second, if there were ever like some sort of cosmic sort of thing that was saying, yo, do this, I think that was it. So that started me into guitar, and I was terrible at first. Like, I'm decent now,
Right.
So in college, I knew at the time I couldn't really write songs, and I knew I wanted to start a band. I happened to see my old drummer, my first band. This guy's a Filipino guy. He goes by Sion. His real name is Christian. And he was just kind of this dude who was just kind of, how do I describe it? When I met Sion, he looked like in 10 years he would be a killer.
Everyone needs at least one of those in their friend list, right?
Right. Like just hair down, just like super nerdy. I'm talking about do you know how the people are like joking now with the anime glasses where they push it up and shit like that? He was that guy, about to like send you to the Shadow Realm Yu-Gi-Oh style. But he was wearing a shirt that said "Got Drums." And I was just like, yo.
But I want to.
Right. And I was just like, yo, you play drums? He's like, oh, yeah. And I'm just like, yeah. So I'm trying to start a band right now. And like, I bring it over to my dorm and I show him a bunch of the artists I'm listening to, like Gact and, Deer and Gray, The Gazette, Garugamesh, like all those bands, Sid.
He wasn't scared off?
No. Which he should have. And then from there, he's just like, okay, cool. He's like, I'm down. And so I'm like, all right, we need to find more band members. But in the meanwhile, while we're looking for band members, let's get brolic. So we start hitting the gym like crazy for like 2.
Okay.
I tell you, this story has a bunch of twists and turns, I promise you. We start hitting the gym like crazy, and like he was like overweight, out of shape. Yo, he dropped like 30 pounds. He went from being that creepy dude to looking real androgynous, like Like, I'm not trying to make any stereotypes, but some of y'all Asian folks be out here just having that natural sort of, I can flow through the genders, no problem. And he had that hidden skill, he just needed to level up,
Good job, Shola.
Yeah, I try,
Bringing the androgyny out of people.
right. Like, and at the, like, even me, like at the time I had a mustache and like, wait, we're getting to that. That's a jumping ahead. So where the band finally culminated and like where I guess I started making VK-esque music or influence music, I went on Craigslist. And Craigslist, if you guys don't know, is a kind of like a forum board in the US, where you can post everything from you're looking for band members, or you're looking to buy a couch or buy a house or cars, wherever, you know what I mean? So I post that, hey, I'm looking to start a visual K band, and you got to be willing to like work out and like not do any hard drugs, and I'm super serious and this and that, very intense, all capital letters. My grammar was all over the place, and I just put that out there to the world. I ended up getting a call from this gentleman named Artemis. He's a black gentleman from the Bronx. And he had already been doing this sort of thing prior. There was about a 6 or 7 year age gap between us. So at the time, I think he was 26 and I was like 19 or 20. And he saw the post and he told me from like his side of things, he was just like, he saw the post online and he was just like, who is this person just being mad loud on the internet? And like, he thought it had to be a joke, because like, and he'd already put out some music, and I say he was doing it. I'm talking about full androgyny. Like, you can still find the photos if you look up Artemis Cephei on Google. Yeah, he'll pop up. It's so he was out there like killing the game before me.
Let's see.
Yeah, let's see.
How do I spell that last name?
It's Cephei.
Let's see. Okay, we've got something. Oh, this makes me feel like high school days. I've got a picture like this too. In a striped shirt. It might be the same shirt that I have.
That was the photo that when we met, that was the stuff that he already put out. He's now there's more recent stuff. Let's see if I can I want to give you you gave the before, I'll give you the after. This is good. I hope this is not a boring tale.
Not yet.
Okay, good. I gotta be sure, I gotta be sure. Let's see, Artemis. Here we go. Trying to find some of the not that one. I want one of the ones that Wait, where is it? There we go. So here's a good example of what he looks like now. Yeah, I think this one's fine. Yeah, I like this one. So yeah, let's see if I can get closer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we meet up. So rather, he's just like he sees my message. He emails me back, and he tells me like because he's with one of our guys who was supposed to be a guitarist for us, and he's like, "Yo, this sounds like a joke. This guy must be crazy. Let's call him up and then see what he's about." So he calls me up. And he's just like, we're talking. I'm like, yeah, I want to do this. And of course, I was being super intense because that's who I was back then. And then I was just like, oh, I've mellowed out a bit. So then he goes, he goes like, oh, can you send me a demo you sing? And I was like, yeah, I can just sing for you right now. And then he was just like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, I can sing some gack for you. And it was just like, sure. And then they're sitting on the side of the phone and like him and the other guy, and they're just laughing like, oh, my God, this guy's about to like, beep it on the phone. And then he's just like, yeah, go ahead, sure. So they're holding themselves, getting ready to laugh. I start singing, and they're like, what the fuck? Like this can't be real. Like they're like, get the what is happening right now? Like this, like, are we dreaming? It's like 4 a.m. in the morning right now.
Right. And so that's how so that was the original setup? Was it the three of you in the beginning, or?
Yeah, the three of us. From there, he taught me a lot. He taught me how to write music. He pushed me to get into actually wearing makeup and whatnot. forced me to shave my damn facial hair, which I have
Yeah,
never
that's not
grown
very
again.
visual, okay?
Oh, not at all. And I
Yeah.
had a woofing mustache at the time. You
Oh
know,
man, I can't imagine the mustache. I can't imagine you singing Maria Maria. I can't imagine a lot of this tale, to be honest.
yeah, life has different ebbs and flows and turns.
Right. So I
Um,
mean, in
mhm,
regards to the makeup, I mean, Artemis already had the experience in it, right?
mhm, yeah.
Did it require him like really kind of psyching you up, like just letting you know, like, no, bro, you're gonna be fine. Like, don't worry about
Oh
it.
yeah, absolutely.
Because like as a young black man in America and in New Jersey and New York, like that guy liner thing,
Oh
that's
yeah,
not cool.
absolutely. And it's just like, especially at the time, there's
Right.
a there's a big stigma. There was a big stigma in the African American community about,
Hmm.
being gay or being queer or anything of the sort. Not so much, spotlight about it as there is now, and so much conversation about it.
Right.
And
Do you
at the
mind
time,
if I ask do you have a label? Are you what?
so I would say I'm relatively straight. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, and I say that I definitely kind of slide between masculinity and femininity with no issue. Like
Hmm.
even my partner, they're non-binary.
Okay.
Right now, and and we've learned so much from each other. But I think also just because of the fact that even in this style of music, I came from such a background where it's very rigid. Like I'm like Nigerian, like American, just I know all my family and all this stuff. There's nothing like that. So of
Hmm.
course you're gonna get the conversations. Oh, are you gay or this or that or what's going on with you and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with being who you are, but
Right.
it just wasn't me. But at the same time, it was also an exploration of myself. What were the things I were comfortable with? What did how do I attain this goal that I want to? Is this something that is really as dramatic as people are making it to be? And I realized that I right already what I'm doing, I'm always going to be against the grain. So I
Hmm.
might as well just go 100% and not
Right.
care about what people think. And
Hmm.
and then at the same time, it gave me a little taste of the unfortunateness that people do go through, especially when they're like black, and like a black male doing this kind of stuff, wearing like makeup and all this shit, or tight clothing or androgynous clothing. Like hell, I
And
look
the
through the
boots,
women's.
always the boots.
Yeah.
You've always had great boots.
Thank you. I even now I still like will walk through a women's section just to find shit because I find a lot of the men's section shit kind of boring. Like at
Hmm.
least in the U.S. So there's definitely some frilly stuff in my closet that where I got it from. But that took growth. That took
Right.
you know kind of being okay with not being okay with how the world feels about you.
Right.
Um, yeah. So I think that kind of
Was there
covers that.
any bullying, or like was everyone around you like, well, I guess that's just Shola. Like,
Well,
just let him be.
it's a mixture. I mean, I've had people say wild shit to me, in
Hmm.
passing, but at the same time, I've always kind of had a big personality, and so it kind of like gave off an energy where it's just like, this dude is really confident about what he's fucking doing. I don't really know if I want to press that, you know, that and like, especially with the contact lenses, those are terrifying. Like
Right.
I used to do the whiteout contacts, and then I went from like a super like bright blue that's like icy. I remember even one time walking from like my dorms, snow. It was a snowstorm, and I was wearing a hoodie. I'm walking past, and this girl can barely see. She sees my eyes and like the snow and just nothing else, and just screams.
Yeah, that's gotta be creepy stuff. You
Yeah,
traumatized that girl.
yeah, good. I traumatized the kid too.
So, I mean, as a youngster, as a teenager, as an early adult, you can kind of chalk that up to like, oh, he's going through a phase. He's trying to figure out what he's doing. Just let him do
Yeah,
it. Now you're in your late 20s. Are you
yeah. I'll be turning 29 in September.
okay? So, being in your late 20s, going into your 30s, has anyone approached you like, bro, you're not over that phase yet? Like, you're still doing this? Like, how do you feel
Uh,
about that in your adult
my
life?
my mom always is just like, "Oh, son, you're doing well. Just like you don't have to wear the makeup anymore, mom." So, and then I'm just like, "I'm gonna do what I want, mom." I mean, there are some people like I've had people who like meet me, and even without the makeup, just the way I speak, compared to like what most people think traditional Black people sound like when they talk. They're, you know, or the way I move, or just day to day, people already assume like, oh, you must be gay or queer, this and that, and yada yada yada. I'm just like, nah, me, you know, I like these things, like, you know, like I like lifting weights, but I will go with you to Sephora to buy a bunch of makeup, like get my primer, my foundation, my eyeliner, my setting spray. Don't play with me.
Yes. I don't know what any of those things are, but yeah, it sounds like you are knowledgeable in both sides of the spectrum.
Right. And there's a beauty to that, because the level of comfort that you have walking through the world, you know, it's just like, yo, dope. I'm gonna go do this freaking thing. Oh, that's kind of, you know, that's not really like, you know, manly. I'm like, I don't care at all. Like,
I feel you. Like as a person who is into Japanese culture very young, the music and the language specifically, I did not get a lot of support for learning Japanese in the beginning. It was a lot of kind of like, yeah, I guess, I mean, they're cartoons. If you want to watch cartoons, that's cool and all, but maybe learn a language that's more useful. How about like Spanish or Chinese?
Oh wait, it just died. Hold on. I think it did. I think it just froze. What happened? Oh, let's see. Let me double check. It froze. Wait. Wait. It froze. It froze. No. Oh. Yo. Hey, so never look back. Trash. Okay. We're good. Okay. All right.
Difficulties.
All right. So you were talking about, like, you know, how it's perceived when you wanted to learn, you know, Japanese growing up.
Yes. So as first of all, let me say real quick, 日本人の皆さん、もしニューヨークに来るんだったら、Optimum っていうの Wi-Fi の会社をやめた方がいいんですよ。それはもうゴミだからもう使えないでください。今みたいなことにならないようにしてください。
皆さんお願いします。
Yeah, I just had to, just a PSA, don't use Optimum.
Yeah, it is.
We'll be having a whole broadcast and it's just like, maybe later. Bye.
Yeah, yo, you know? I switched from Optimum like years ago. That's no, we're not gonna do that. Let's stick on topic.
Anyway, learning Japanese, it was weird. It was not cool. I was not as confident as you were. I actually used to just be like, yeah, you know, my grandpa's Japanese, so I'm kind of like an eighth Japanese, I'm a quarter, and just like all these lies, because it was like, well, if I'm part Japanese, then it makes sense that I'm so addicted to the culture, because I used to get a lot of trash, you know, like, why aren't you listening to rap music or R&B? Like, why do you have to like be so focused on the Japanese language? And I didn't want to stand out too much. I didn't want to be a weeb, basically, you know, growing up on the internet and reading about weebs. I was just like, I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
I didn't want the labels. I was just like, yeah, my grandpa's Japanese. And everyone was like, oh, shit. Okay, cool.
You know, I look at it like, you know, I feel like at a certain point, being a weeb is okay if you grow out of it, you know, like, you know, you use it as a stepping stone. In regard to, you know, your whole experience learning Japanese and whatnot, you know, I actually had it a bit like, from what you're telling me, at least people had the conversation with you to generally inquire. Me, my household was nothing like that. It was very much like, what are you doing, huh? Oh, what you're addicted to Japanese people stuff, huh? Well, you're gonna marry a Japanese girl or something like that. It's just like, oh, you're not black, you know. I'd hear stuff like that, and you know, it's it's, you know, I different cultures, first generation parents coming here from a, you know, pretty rough upbringing in Nigeria, you know, trying to build a kind of life for themselves. There's only so much you kind
Mm-hmm.
of assimilate. So like certain ways that they would speak to us, which like now I look at it, I'm just like, Jesus, like they knew nothing about subtlety or worried about emotions because they were worried about putting food on the table. So, you
Right.
know, they have their son who's doing things that they're one out of their three children, the firstborn son and the middle child is deciding to, you know, wear all black and paint his nails and having to change, you know, in the garage to go, you know, put on his more goth attire and kind of explore myself.
Mm.
You know, I didn't have that luxury, nor I had the option to have conversations. So there was just
I
a lot
see.
of ridicule. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the only option I kind of had was just to develop a tough skin and just be like, this is what I like. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like you can go home and somebody can pat you on the back. Like, you know,
Right.
you don't get that. You're still getting just about the same amount of like pressure or ridicule for what you're doing. So if that's your environment that you live in, you know, it's like a,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like a coal, like, you know, underground, it pressurizes and then it, you know, toughens us to be a diamond. And that's kind of what happened, which unfortunately, fortunately, you know,
Right. Like my first instinct is to say, wow, I'm sorry that you went through that. But I feel like that tough skin, that like backbone is super necessary as any type of creative.
yeah,
So it's kind of nice really. Like you
yeah.
said, fortunate, unfortunate that you kind of got that thick skin early on because now it must be a lot easier to perform the way you do.
Yeah, you know, and I think especially being a, you know, a black artist
Hmm.
doing something that, you know, once upon a time, you know, black people had a super invested history in the rock and roll world, invented it essentially. You know, and now, you know, me being young, I don't know any of that. That's not really being taught. So it just
Right.
feels like it's no man's land. So it's just like, if I'm going to do this, I got to just be prepared to eat the shit. I got to be
Right.
prepared for people to say messed up things to me. I've
Hmm.
got to be prepared for people to not take me seriously. And it does definitely develop a sort of thing where you're always looking over your back, making sure that people are watching what you do. And you're always worried about putting out the best thing because you don't have the luxury of not
Hmm.
putting out anything less than good because people already expect so little of you.
Right.
So, ooh, I felt that.
That yeah, I was like, ooh, I had whew. Um, that is a good uh, way to kind of switch to my next question. How do you feel niche focused content affects the already niche like appeal of a black creative? Because in general, like you're already kind of like, oh yeah, that black singer, oh yeah, you know, that black guy on guitar. Like you're already kind of in a box. How does it feel to be in a box in a box?
It's tough. You know, I look at it as I sit in a very unique situation, you
Hmm.
know, and it how do I put it? I sit in a unique situation in terms of what I do. Because nowadays, like I'm super influenced by Visual K, but I don't necessarily say I'm a Visual K band. If anything else, I definitely want to coin the term post visual, you know? So it's kind of a
Okay,
blend of like my Western sort of influences and Japanese influences as
awesome.
well. Um, so I realized that there is both an opportunity in a sense where like, yo, there's almost no one that looks like me, who sounds like me, who's singing, writing these kind of songs, and you know, doing the whole makeup and the stage outfit and all the presents and shit like that, like
Hmm.
similarly, you know, which is great. However, how do you market that to a Western market? For example, your home base, my home base, you know, New York,
Hmm.
and where there are already a bunch of rock and roll staples, and this
Right.
doesn't necessarily fit any of them,
Hmm.
you know? And yeah.
I feel that because even for me, like trying to do YouTube, there's a lot of talk about like needing to be in a niche, right? Like you have to kind of know what your content is, you have to know what your audience is and kind of really focus on that to make a name for yourself. And it's like I don't really know. Like I know the base of it, right? I'm black and I speak Japanese. Like what else do I really
Right,
need?
right,
And I
right.
want to like kind of just go in any direction that that particular base takes me, you know? So like your mixture of being Western and being into visual K and progressive rock and kind of melding that into your own thing, it's really tricky because, you know, it's kind of like when you're setting up your keywords and you're trying to figure out who to like set your broadcasting to or your Instagram ads to, it's
Yeah.
tough.
Oh, I'm terrible at it. But that does make me think of like another aspect of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that was something also I had to struggle with. Like, when you're in this pocket, identity, especially because of the fact that you're Black, is something that's super hard to grasp. Think about it like this: all the people that you look up to in this genre, or generally majority of like, what's mainstream and just regular rock in general, look nothing like you. A lot of these styles and whatnot, they're not they work with people of different hair types, different body structures, different facial structures,
Mm-hmm.
different skin types. So makeup brands and stuff like that are built around it. Like, us Black folk, like, especially at least for me, I build muscle fast. So like, I am 29 now. I'm over 200 pounds. I'm not like that or anything like that. It's just a lot of muscle. But like,
Right.
trying to buy like tight like rocker pants and stuff like that doesn't really, it is a tough battle finding clothes that look the part, that feel the part,
Right.
that fit me. And a lot of that, I've done everything from perming my hair straight and getting it layered and stuff like that, which does a lot of damage
I
to
remember
our
that.
hair, you know. Uh, and over time, I had to learn to, one, love myself a bit more and accept who I am as an
Mm-hmm.
individual. I had to learn that, I don't really feel comfortable with the idea of saying, hey, I'm a visual K artist, because of the fact that, at the end of the day, I'm not Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Black, you know, and that is an inherent Japanese, sort of thing.
Right.
I have these influences and they mean a lot to me, but I come from a different world, a different experience. I look different. I am different. Some of these things will never necessarily correlate the same way it does for other people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think at the same time, that also kind of can pigeonhole you like within that niche market, because it's how easy is it for somebody to like see, oh, these guys look great in their fucking outfit. Like 90% of these bands, before they even put out a song, they put out like a look picture, or like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
these are the artists here, these are their blood types,
To set the vibe.
right, and it's just like, yeah, I don't look anything like these people. And even when I
Mm-hmm.
do what I do, I've definitely had people be like, oh, you don't look like it, or I, I shit you not. You can look at my YouTube video for Neglect, when I went solo and started doing my things. You'll see like one or two comments being like, oh, when African people try to do visual K and whatnot. And, just stuff like that. Of course, me, I'm prepared for it. I'm mentally
Right.
prepared that this is going to happen. So I respond, I'm like, you're absolutely right. I'm 100% Nigerian. Thank you for noticing, but,
Like, okay, you got eyes, so what?
yeah, but you're gonna get that backlash, because
Mm-hmm.
people are just trying to think, oh, you're just imitating, oh, you're just a Black guy, you can't be doing all this stuff and yada yada yada.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, some of the I guess creative choices I could have learned how to work a little better with my own skin and the things that I have, but that was a journey I had to just go through.
Right.
you know
I completely understand that. When I first started learning Japanese, I also had permed hair. And then, wasn't connected, but a friend convinced me to just chop it all off and go natural. And that has been a big part for me because I have been so sucked into the Japanese culture. Like I lived, I've been living with Japanese roommates for years. I listen to a lot of Japanese music. I almost exclusively cook Japanese food here at home. I work in Japanese restaurants. I've been to Japan 7 times. So it really kind of like sucks me in. Like it's a huge,
yeah
huge part of who I am personally. And I'd like to keep my hair natural. Like sometimes I think like, oh, this is a drag. Like detangling, like to have to set a whole day, sometimes too, just to get your hair done. Like it's exhausting. So sometimes I want to go back to the creamy crack. I want to go back and I want to perm my hair. But I have to remember that this is, besides my skin, is the ultimate sign of my Blackness. Like
yeah
this is me showing the world that no matter how into Japanese culture I might seem, I am still very much connected to my Black roots. It's like
yeah
I'm here. I'm,
yeah
I'm Black and I'm proud, but I also speak fluent Japanese, so I'm not gonna hide that. Here we
right
go.
right right I
And same with your music. Like if that is the the music that has sucked you in and has like raised you almost,
Yeah.
then screw it. Like
Yeah.
that's you.
Yeah. It's like, one, I totally correlate with the hair thing. Why do you think I'm wearing a hood right now? My hair was looking pretty okay yesterday, but like right now,
Uh-huh.
like
Sorry, I caught you on a bad day.
it's more like I gotta prepare for it. It's not so much as a bad day. It's more like, since I'm not perming, I normally have my hair like with box braids and like extensions, so it's like blue to the shoulders and whatnot.
Right.
But since we're still in lockdown, my
Mm.
wonderful Ethiopian woman that her shop is not open right now. I can't
Uh,
I can't look my finest. So the best I can do is if I want to get glammed up, I can like flat iron and whatnot.
okay.
But the moment like I start sweating or anything like that, that just
It's over.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I literally messaged Shola maybe like 10 minutes ago. I was like, hey, bro, you want to do a video? And he was dope enough to just be like, yo, let me get a hoodie. And
yeah.
now we're doing it.
Right? Yo.
But the only reason I'm looking good is because it's the first week of Pride. And
Hey.
I am openly pansexual.
Hey.
I am an equal opportunity lover. Get at me. Very much single. But I was just trying to take some like cute photos. And I was like, all right, I'm feeling cute.
Good shit.
Show
Good shit. You out here? You stunning?
Here we are.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I love it.
But yeah,
Uh,
it really is. It can be kind of suffocating, like you said. You used pigeonholed, and that's a great word for it. Like that feeling of being in a box, in a world that wants to be all like, I'm not into labels. Like it's kind of
yeah.
tough not to be into labels because people gotta know what they're getting into.
Yeah. And like again, harkening back to something I said before.
Mm-hmm.
You're always and damn, I'm about to get a little personal with this. Precursor.
Exclusive.
So I don't have the best relationship with like my father. You know what I mean? He was there,
Mm-hmm.
he was there financially, stuff like that. But like, again, because the whole differences in cultures and whatnot, that whole emotional connection or just trying to understand that I'm an individual and I'm not just like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I need to do this and that, never happened, even to like my adult age. So, it made it kind of tough when I first started, just pursuing music
Right.
because I didn't really have somebody like at least at home supporting me. So let's just say I was like at Guitar Center trying out a guitar and whatnot. I'd always be looking over my shoulder to see if someone was paying attention to me,
Mm.
because I guess I wanted that attention. It makes sense that became, an artist. And so segueing into that, because there was a segue, I'm trying to glue it back in there. The
You're doing
topic.
great.
All right. So yeah, so doing that, you also feel this immense sort of pressure, like that people aren't paying attention or taking you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Into my early adult life when I was doing the music, and it felt like it almost felt like there was always someone constantly laughing.
Mm.
I walked around with this feeling so long that it became normal. Like I'd always just expect the worst of people as
Mm-hmm.
to how they perceived me, and that's why I'd always had to be like, I have to show people that I'm doing this thing. And it took years for me to break out of that.
Right.
And in the process, yeah, it made me a better artist, but it left kind of like a hole. There's still definitely like a dark stain on my soul because of it. Hence, like
Right.
some of the dark music that I write. A lot of that is like, especially my more recent work is, usually
Heavy
those
stuff.
songs they're written at places that I wasn't doing very well,
Mm-hmm.
and then like of course other things, like I'm in a community like in New York, we have like people who are influenced by Japanese culture, Japanese music and rock bands and stuff like that. We go to Japanese restaurants sometimes, or go karaoke or like events, concerts. We're there,
Mm-hmm.
but not a lot of us look like me.
Right.
So then when you're hanging out and growing up with these friends as well too, and like even like artists within the similar circle, you always kind of feel a little out of place,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and you try to like shrug it off and ignore it, but it's like the elephant in the room, something that you can't,
Right.
and like people who love you, great, will get it, but then of course you have like the purist who are just like,
Mhm.
this guy's a clown, or this and that. They
Right.
don't take it seriously until they hear my voice, and then they're like, what the fuck.
He's got what it takes.
Yeah, I've been told several times in my life that I sound like a white guy, like on a mountain or something. um, you know, and I have to specify that, like, if they look at the music video, I'm the black guy singing, you know,
Yes, let them
all,
know.
yeah, all the
Like,
time.
I get a lot of, invitations to do radio, and I love it. Like, I love doing radio. But at the end of the day, my biggest selling point is the fact that I'm the black chick, you know?
Yeah,
And there are people who are like, "Yeah, when I picked up the phone, I would have never thought you were black." And, like, that's great for me personally to know that
yeah,
my Japanese is so good. But when it comes to, like, really, kind of opening people's eyes and shocking people, like, you need to visually see me. It's, like, so important.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
moving on to, my last question. In today's society, having a niche can be incredibly useful in finding your audience, but it can also be really restricting. You know, like as we mentioned, pigeonholing, all that kind of stuff, kind of feeling like the elephant in the room. Do you ever feel pressure to drop your niche? Do you ever feel like maybe this is not the genre for me? I need to be more commonplace.
Ooh, this is a good one. So throughout my musical career, I've always felt adversity for what I've, you know, maybe adversity is not the right word, but I've always felt like pushback against what I've done from all sides. And you know what the worst part is? It hurts when it's from the people you expect it. It
Mm-hmm.
hurts even worse when it's from the people you don't expect it from. So, like, to give you an example, my first band with Artemis and Sion, the drummer, uh, we got blown off by Afropunk.
Huh.
And like, when I tell you blown off, I still have the email receipts. But the gist of it is, in the US, Afropunk every year does a Battle of the Bands sort of competition.
Okay.
The first stage of it is you get people to vote for you online. Second
Mm-hmm.
stage of it is you go through a series of battles, you know, and then if you make it to that through those semi rounds, you'll make it onto their festival, which it's essentially like a sort of pro black, very like, like, very big sort of concert, like full of different black artists from rock and metal and all different genres. And it's supposed to kind of just be like a haven, you know, for people like myself, you know, who don't necessarily fit the mainstream ideology of what it means to be a black artist. Um, so what we did was we went to Union Square. With that year, we were competing. To get the vote out, I brought my laptop, a portable table, a cooler full of drinks on one of the hottest days in the summer, had some speakers out, and we set up the laptops like, hey, we've got free drinks out here. All we want is if you can, to take a second, listen to our music, and just log in and just vote for us. And then we made it into like the top 3 in the city. Instantly thought we cheated. So then they removed us. Then I had to go there to their headquarters, prove to them that we actually did what we did, and then we were back in the
Mm-hmm.
competition.
Okay.
Part 2. So I observed every day of the competition up until the day we competed, because it was broken up
Okay.
into days. And you know, I watched some shady stuff happen. But you know, all that kind of stuff has already been like in the news. You know, or some of their dealings. But anyway, after we competed, we actually competed against a really cool rap group called what are these guys' names again? Loaf Music. They're local. They're dope. I highly recommend you check them out.
Will
Um,
do.
and we competed. And like, if there were anybody that we were gonna like, you know, like lose
Lose
the battle to,
against.
it was gonna be them. And they even knew it because it was very neck and neck. So
Mm-hmm.
after the competition, they won the round, and I was like, that's cool. You know what I mean? If I was happy that they won. Um, one of the representatives from Afropunk walks up to us and it's just like, hey, you know, we want to, you know, still work with you in some capacity. And I'm just like, okay, that's cool. Great. We got the email and whatnot. And we're like, cool, we'll reach out. At this point, we had still been doing our own thing. We'd
Mm-hmm.
played like some of the larger venues in New York, like Webster Hall. We did every floor. Gramercy. We got to do a show in Canada. That was another situation like that, like
Mm-hmm.
this, but with like for a big anime convention. We even had like our music released at a Japanese retail store, Edison. Yeah, it was a part
Okay.
of a compilation of a bunch of international inspired VK artists. So we
I
were
do have.
doing.
I'm sorry. I've got a 5-minute warning. We got 5 minutes left.
Oh God, there's so much. Anyway, I'll wrap it up. So at this point, we're there. We're solid. We've conquered our city. You know, you got to conquer your city before you move outwards. We reach out to them and we're just like, hey, so what do we definitely want to get on one of your shows or something like that. And you told us to reach out, you know, this and that. It's radio silence. So we do it on 2 or 3 different times. And it gets to the point where I just asked, like, yo, what do we have to do to get on your radar? Like,
Right.
I'm a Nigerian male who's doing this with a Caribbean black male and 3 Filipino guys. And we've already done all of this stuff. For Christ's sake, we've got like music being released like internationally.
Mm-hmm.
So why,
What do you need from us? What do
what
we
do you
not?
need?
What's not enough?
Right. And so they're just like, oh, well, you know, we like to work with artists that are doing stuff for their community and whatnot and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah, you know, basically PR gibberish. What they forgot to do was to delete the forward or say, how do I think these guys, how do I tell these guys off that I think are freaking annoying and whatnot? I still have it. I still have it.
I see.
Yeah, we should totally, at some point we should do a part 2 of this, because there's just so much. There's just so much to unload. But
so was that enough to make you feel pressure to kind of be like,
well,
do you think they felt you were annoying because you were a progressive rock band, like you weren't?
Well, here's my take from it, and this is unfortunate and it really, really messed up. Them as a company like to push a particular look for alternative black people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at like the kind of stuff that they do push, they fit a market. We did not fit that in any way, shape, or form. And because we didn't fit what they considered to what black alternative was, we were not on their radar. Right. And that's fucked up.
Right.
The fact that people
from the whole point of alternative is to have different alternatives.
Right. And like it'd be one thing. My thing is, again, it'd be one thing if we were just terrible, but that wasn't it. We had garnered our fan base. We had made a stake. You know, we'd done sold out shows and whatnot.
You were just too different. Like they want you to be different, but you were like different.
Yeah. So that was one of several experiences, you know, I experienced throughout my career. I might
just have to take up your offer on a part 2. I'm glad you're still around. I'm glad that was not enough to keep you down. I have listened to some of your latest stuff, and like I said, always a fan. Not always my favorite genre, but there is something about your voice that kind of keeps me coming back to your music, even though it's not the type of genre that I would normally kind of sit down and listen to. And it's nice to hear your Japanese level up through the years as you do more cover songs and little Japanese inserts. So Senpai is proud of you. Senpai is feeling pretty proud.
Thank you. You set a high standard.
Senpai is really proud, man. So is there anything that we should be looking forward to? Anything coming out, or your social media handles if you want to do a quick like wrap up?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Shola Aurora, SHOLA, last name like Aurora, AURORA. You can find me on pretty much any major streaming or music platform. YouTube, my Instagram is Shola_Aurora. In terms of what's coming out, I'm actually releasing a full Japanese cover of Deeren Gray's The Final. I recorded almost all the instruments and vocals. I dropped a new single called VENOM. It's very like New Hyde influence for sure. So it's out already. I've got a couple of other covers that I'm working on. I also dropped the one for Cold Rain, Mayday, recently. I already have several Hyde covers out there. I've got a new single that will be out probably in a month or so. I don't want to drop it so close. It's really good. It's a ballad. It's really, really good. You know, just look out for it. Check out my stuff.
Guys, that was Shola Aurora. It's been great to have you. It's been great reconnecting because we haven't really talked like this in a really long time. Yeah. So thank you for coming back to my platform.
Thanks for inviting me.
I look forward to continuing to support you on your platform.
Oh, thank you. Matter, man. Black Lives Matter all day, every day.
Thanks, it was a pleasure, and I think we might have a part 2 coming soon. Let's see. Maybe when you release that next single, we'll have you back up.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Awesome. Thanks for coming up.
All right. Thanks for having me. All right.
Guys, that was Shola Aurora. It was a pleasure to have him. That was just a kind of peek into what it's like to be Black in the creative scene and kind of in that niche world. If you're interested in this kind of content, please let me know and I'll make sure to make more of it. Comment below if you have any more questions for Shola, and I'll be sure to pass them on and answer them in the possible part 2. See you next time.